Alright, this has been going on for almost 2 full hours. Check this shit out. You want to listen to all the different noises. There was just a bunch of airplanes mixed in with it too that just ended. Listen to this sick shit. Now, you really believe that that sounds natural? Okay. This has been non-stop for almost 2 full hours. Check this out. My tape recorder, okay, has been recording. Hold on, let me put my glasses back on. Well, my tape recorder actually spilled into a new audio file because it was running all night. A few minutes ago, it was at, about an hour ago, it was at the 12-hour mark. So it's already started a new audio file, and this sick shit's been going on for at least 2 hours now. So, in gang stalking crimes, one of the things that gang stalking will do concerning what's reported, you can research my statements, is that when it comes to... Now, the following statements have to do with what's reported. It's reported that these little psycho maggots will prop up a whole cacophony of different sounds. Sometimes they're different and contrasting, sometimes they're similar. So what's been going on is landscape noise that sounds extremely similar to the noise you hear right now. Okay, now you notice the airplanes? So now there's... Okay, so the airplane has now kind of like waned off. But a lot of noises that are propped up in gang stalking crimes will be overlaid onto each other, and some of them will have very similar noises. When they play one noise for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, they know the brain is going to fixate on it. At least in the right brain mode, which is our unconscious awareness, which is responsible for interpreting what's going on around you in your environment at the unconscious level. And right brain, auditory entrainment to the right brain hemisphere is one of the biggest motives of gang stalking. Because your right hemisphere is dedicated to unconscious awareness, and remote neural monitoring is widely reported to gain a neurological access through the right hemisphere. So when they prop up, whether it be just one sound or one sound that's fluctuating, or a cacophony of similar sounds, or a cacophony of contrasting inverted sounds in your environment around you, including around other people, it's not for auditory or brain entrainment to the right hemisphere. Okay, so now I want you to listen to the plane coming. And then when you hear the vehicles, and any other noise, the purpose of this cacophony of noises is so that the brain interprets them. Well, let me just put it to you this way. My ultrasound detector app, it picks up, I got over 4,000 snap screenshots of ultrasonic sound, research ultrasonic sound bone conduction torture to gang stalking, which is also another avenue. It's a technology that they can intentionally propagate around your area, whether it be your home, place of business. It's not perceivable to the human ear, but gang stalking victims have found, through experience and through educated knowledge, have come to understand that that is a technology being perpetrated within the crime of gang stalking. Google all my statements. So when a gang stalking victim is processing ultrasonic sound, bone conduction torture, that's done for auditorial brain resonance entrainment. That means the ultrasound is constantly being processed in the brain under the perceptual radar, even though there are ways for you to be able to determine that it is going on. So a lot of victims are online and they're downloading. Now listen to this plane. So the sound of this plane is now mixed on and in with the background sound of the other sound, because now the airplane noise is dominant. So you see how they're kind of blended in together? So this is all being processed in the brain on an ultrasonic sound wave. In fact, check this out. I'm going to prove something to you right now. I got this other phone here. I'm going to turn it on, baby cakes and munchkin butts. So when I turn it on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my ultrasound detector app. Now you can clearly see that I'm at a friggin' wooded area that has no buildings of any kind on it for the entire property. No houses, no businesses, no telephone poles, no utility poles, no cable poles, no nothing. It's just a complete wooded area. Okay? Now, when I bring up this app that I'm going to bring up here, let me get out my other pair of glasses here real fast. Bear with me a second, folks. This is education, and the intelligent and the and inquiring minds will want to know the truth about this. And you better research it, sweethearts, because if you think my brain right now is the only brain that's absorbing this, think again. Because of ultrasonic sound, so I'm bringing up my ultrasound detector app right now. Okay? And I'm going to bring it up and watch what it reads out. Okay? Watch. Now, what you might want to also take notice of, we're going to see when you hear any fluctuations in the sound that's in the environment, see if the ultrasonic sound wave fluctuates in sync with the fluctuations of the sound in the environment. Hold on. Now, I have literally caught this ultrasound detector app. Its readouts were in perfect sync with sound that was propped up in the environment at a grocery store one time, where this big machine that was running through the parking lot, which was like this machine that enabled a worker to get on the very top of these poles that they were painting, and the sound that was coming out of the machine, because the machine itself had a big gigantic generator type thing that was like a motor, and the sounds that were coming out of it, just hear me out, hold on a second, I got some issues here with something. Okay, so the sound, and I know this sounds a little bit funny, just hear me out. Now, what you need to, let me backtrack for a second. Now, what you got to understand here concerning ultrasonic sound, this is an ultrasound detector app, but what you got to understand is ultrasonic sound is pretty much the same thing. Okay? Because ultrasonic sound is just missing the word sonic. Okay. Now, what you got to understand here is that the brain is processing this ultrasonic sound wave, while at the same time it's processing what's being propped up. Now, it doesn't matter if there's normal appearing legitimate excuses concerning why a sound would be in the area, because if you don't think gang stalking would not intentionally prop up an intentional work job outside of victims' homes, research that. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that shit is reported all over the United States, where victims of gang stalking are saying that massive amounts of construction jobs are being propped up on their block, in front of their home, out on the road. You should also research how gang stalking victims are also reporting about how their neighbors will engage in consecutive lawn mowing. And you should also research landscape workers and gang stalking as well. Now, as my brain is processing this, so it's an even tone, but it's fluctuating. Okay, so it's one even tone, while that even tone sometimes fluctuates while the brain is processing this. So this ultrasonic sound wave is processing that sound as an offset carrier. So in other words, this is like an offset carrier wave that's processing the ultrasonic sound and the sound that my brain is processing from the environment. Now, I have to go back just for a second. I was at a grocery store last week, and they were doing this. Oh my God. I was there for like 4.5 hours outside charging my battery chargers. And there was a machine, there was a project occurring. Okay. Some type of work project that was being done. And it was this big, gigantic machine. And it had this huge, big, gigantic motor that ran this crane-type looking thing where, you ever see those guys that work on the utility poles and they sit in those little buckets and then the buckets get raised all the way to the top in order to elevate the person to the top of the utility pole so they can work on it? It was that type of deal. But the machine that was running this apparatus that enabled the person to be lifted up to the top of these poles, it looked like they were painting them, even though none of them looked like they needed paint jobs at all. Okay? Just hear me out. So as this thing was, and it went to practically every pole in the parking lot. It was there all day for 5.5 hours. Now, some of its sounds were extremely similar to sounds that a gang stalking victim that I'm aware of was enduring at a specific area. Because you got to remember, constant tones that have fluctuations in them is auditory brain entrainment. Okay, so it doesn't matter what normal apparent excuse could be applied to why this tone is in the environment. Do you honestly think it's an accident that tens of thousands of gang stalking victims who are all over the internet daily exposing these crimes, all of them are stating that they're enduring massive amounts of sound harassment, and you should also research auditory entrainment and remote neural monitoring as well. Sound harassment outside their homes, where they live at, in their communities when they're out and about. One sound or another. Landscape working noise, lawnmower noise, airplane noise, helicopter noise. And then you got all the different sound technologies that gang stalking victims widely report. Voice to skull, ultrasonic sound bone conduction. Okay, the silent sound spread spectrum. What else do we got? What do we got? ELF transmissions. So sound is a huge aspect of gang stalking crimes. I think you're seeing this as I speak. Okay, in real time. Because there's no reason. Look, I have literally brought this detector app up in over 32 different wooded areas because this crime made me homeless. And it picks it up at all wooded areas, and it's picking it up along my routes. When I'm at a grocery store, when I'm in a bathroom at a grocery store, when I'm at a bus stop, as I'm walking down the street. Okay? Absolutely. So you see, the longer it goes on, the more the resonance auditory entrainment occurs. Which is why I bought these noise cancellation headphones. These are construction site noise cancellation headphones. Let me put them on. Hold on a second. So you see, as the brain is processing the ultrasound, it's also, you got to remember, this is a sound wave. Now, it doesn't matter that it's being perpetrated at specific dBSPLs, and you notice how it fluctuates between 21.6, 21.7, and 21.8 throughout the entire thing. That right there is specific and exacting, meaning that right there has got its own motive. Okay, absolutely. Do you notice that how it's not falling down to base 0 and then going back up, meaning that these particular readouts that you're seeing right now seem to have a base of at least 20 dBSPLs at these fluctuating 21.7, 21.8, 21.6 thousand hertz? Do you think that's an accident? This is set. This is set by someone. It's not a ghost that set this particular spectrum for my ear to process. Now, while my ear is processing this, the sound that's being heard in the environment is also being processed, more than likely on these ultrasonic sound waves. Because you can have offset sound waves on sound waves. Oh, absolutely. Okay, they're called offset carrier waves. Okay? Just like when you watch TV, your TV has got audio and video. If you watch the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, and towards the beginning of the movie, like in the first 45 minutes, you're going to see that when that signal was sent from outer space, it had audio, and then they found a offset video carrier signal. Okay, so you need to educate yourself just a little bit concerning sound waves and all the different types of offset carrier waves that they can prop on it. So anyways, I was at this grocery store last week, and they were having this work project done, and it lasted for the entire time duration while I was there. And then once I started packing up my stuff to leave, the work project suddenly stopped. Okay, so it started right after I arrived, and it stopped right when I started packing my shit up to leave. Okay. Now, during many time points when this work project was going on, I noticed that machine that was running the equipment that they were using to elevate the person up so that he could get on, so he could be lifted up in order to paint the poles or whatever the hell he was doing, it was making extremely similar sounds because it was a motor. Now, just hear me out. So this motor, the sound that the motor was making, was it was making two separate distinct sounds. When he was being lifted up, it was making a high-pitched noise type sound, but there was also a secondary sound that was constant, and that was like a low bass hum sound. Okay, now these were supposedly, let's just say, for the sake of saying it, these were natural sounds coming from that type of engine when that engine was being used, the motor connected to it. But what you got to understand about gang stalking is that in order for them to auditorily brain entrain the right hemisphere, the sounds and the props have to be propped up around the victim, because the right hemisphere is responsible for scrutinizing what's going on around you. Okay, because the right hemisphere is dedicated to unconscious awareness. Okay, what do you think sound is? I mean, come on, do you really honestly think that this ultrasound that's being picked up, ultrasonic sound that's being picked up on my ultrasound detector, is being picked up because of something I'm doing? No, it's being picked up because whatever is emitting this is around me, and it's forcing my brain to process it. So this right here is in your face evidence that ultrasound is in the area around me. When I get up and walk 1,000 feet from here, it'll pick up the same shit. Okay? Literally. So, when I was at this grocery store and this machine was running, I started noticing that a lot of the sounds that machine, that the engine of the machine, the motor of the machine was making, was very, 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 very close to some of the sounds that had been distinctly heard at this area. Literally. So, you got to remember, for auditory resonance entrainment to take place, pertaining to a specific sound, it's got to be propped up more than once in order to reinforce that auditory entrained pathway. So that means that if you're at a wooded area and a sound is being perpetrated in the area around you, and if they have any way of knowing that your brain is picking it up as being something possibly connected to the crime that's happening to you, because they know what you know about this crime. And remember, remote neural monitoring enables them, to monitor you neurally remotely, meaning that they're able to determine that your brain is perceiving it to be something being intentionally propped up. Therefore, when the brain notices it, it identifies it. Okay, and identification is extremely needed for any and all types of visual and auditory brain entrainment. Absolutely. Because when the association is created, in the brain, that association becomes connected to the entrainment. And this is not an educational video concerning auditory and visual brain entrainment connected to gang stalking, so I'm going to just end that statement there. Hold on a second. So, what you got to understand here is that when if remote neural monitoring is able to interpret that you're identifying something to be possibly connected to gang stalking that's being propped up around you for you to process, or if the brain is picking it up and in fact, they don't need you to identify it for the entrainment to take place, but the identification definitely helps them. Absolutely. I'm helping them right now by paying attention to this and making this video, but I'm trying to educate the public. So, the sound that my brain is processing from the sound in the environment is being processed on this ultrasonic sound wave. And even though it doesn't appear that the sound, because right now it's mostly a constant sound. There's actually a secondary sound too, but I don't know how well you're hearing it. So check this out. So while this is being processed in my brain, this ultrasonic sound wave is more than likely carrying the sound that my brain is processing in real time in the environment. So when I was at that grocery store, and I noticed that the sounds from the engine were extremely similar to some of the sounds that have been heard in the area around this environment that I'm in right now on prior dates, including the day before, I thought to myself, this is kind of weird. So I brought up my ultrasound detector app. Hold on one second, because I'm having a problem keeping something in place here. Hold on. So I brought up my ultrasound detector app, and I said to myself, especially the low hum sound of the engine, because it had two distinct sounds from that engine. It had a high-pitched sound, but it also had a low hum bass type sound that was always running too and constant with the high-pitched sound. Right? Well, that was the same kind of shit that I've endured at this wooded area, literally. So I brought up the ultrasound detector app and played it as these sounds were in the environment at the grocery store. And I noticed that when the high-pitched sound from the motor of the vehicle that they were using in order to do their work job, when the high-pitched sound was being, when it was coming from their machine, the ultrasonic sound wave was high. But as soon as that machine, did what it did, and then the high-pitched sound stopped, and then it went just to the low hum bass type constant sound, the ultrasonic sound wave dropped, and it remained constant. And then when the high-pitched sound from the machine came back on, the ultrasonic sound wave went back up. Now, that's a fact. Now, when I was noticing this, and as a result of me bringing up the ultrasonic sound wave at this grocery store when this was going on, I took a snap screenshot, a shot from what the ultrasonic sound detector was picking up at the time. So it isolated what the event log was producing. This is called an event log, meaning that this is capturing an event of ultrasonic sound. Hold on a second. So what this detector is doing, that's why it's got log right there, because if I press where it says log at, it will send this event to my email file, which I'm definitely going to do. Okay? So right now, it doesn't appear to be syncing with what's going on in the environment, but that doesn't mean, though, that this is not assisting in the auditory entrainment of what's going on in the environment. In other words, the ultrasonic sound that this is processing right now in my brain, okay, that sound in the environment is being processed at these decibels, using ultrasound as a ultrasonic sound as its carrier wave. Okay? So this is extremely dangerous for the brain. It's extremely dangerous. Oh, absolutely. Ultrasonic sound can produce consecutive concussive states and much more. Okay? But these little wild, satanic, mass murdering, human trafficking, raping, gang raping animals don't give a flying fuck about what they're doing to anybody, because the community out there is also enduring it. Because if I can catch ultrasonic sound on this ultrasonic sound detector app walking down the fucking street when I'm at a grocery store, that means ultrasonic sound is in the environment, and that means everybody's picking it up. They just don't perceive it. Okay? So whenever these noises are propped up in the environment while their brains are processing this ultrasonic sound, the same thing's happening to them. They just don't know it. Absolutely. I also find it very interesting that a lot of the sounds that are being propped up around gang stalking victims are designed to still be heard when you put tissue in your ears and wear noise cancellation headphones. Okay? So that, and this right here, the fact that I'm picking up ultrasonic sound right there should tell you that they're using sound in a way to where your brain can't block it out. Because you really think putting tissue in my ears and wearing noise construction site noise cancellation headphones that I bought from Amazon is blocking this out? There ain't no way it can block it out. They're forcing the brain to process it. As a direct result, the brain becomes auditorily resonance entrainment. Absolutely. And this shit's been going on for 2.5 fucking hours. Now, as soon as I started making this video, all the other different sounds that were also going on almost immediately stopped. Okay, loud construction trucks going by, airplanes frequently going by. They had extremely similar sounds to the sound that you hear in the environment. Even though one's coming now. Okay, this one that's coming now, though, is not the same. And the other sound stopped. Or it's now lower. Okay? Because this crime will blend in one sound to another, to another, to another. So, because once you become auditorily trained to the tone that you just massively heard, that suddenly seemed to at least die down right now, if they blend another sound onto it that's extremely similar, and they know you're going to notice it, or they're just put it to you this way, there's extreme likelihoods that it's likely for you to notice it. That way, whenever that other sound is propped up in the community through another means, it will excite the auditorial and trained pathway of the sound that you heard in the environment. Because the sounds are extremely similar, they run in the same sound wave form that your brain is being auditorily trained to. Therefore, it will excite that auditorily trained pathway. That's how brain entrainment operates. Okay? So, let me just kind of tie that up with a bow, and then I'll let you go. Check this out. Say if you prop up a tone in an area for 3 hours, for an hour, even for a half hour, and then if a plane goes by that's got an extremely similar sound to the tone that you hear in the environment, and if they have any way of knowing that your brain is recognizing this, well, they already know your brain is unconsciously recognizing it, because that's the reason why it's propped up in the environment, to entrain the right hemisphere. So it doesn't even matter if you consciously recognize that, wow, this airplane engine noise sounds identical to the tone sound that I've been hearing for the last half hour. It doesn't even matter if you consciously recognize it. Your brain is unconsciously interpreting it. And it's distinguishing between both sounds, yet it's also distinguishing that these sounds are similar. So therefore, in the future, when any airplane goes by that's got any sound that's very close to the sound of the tone, it will stimulate the auditorily trained pathway that was created from the tone. It's called double binding and gang stalking. So in order to understand double binding, connected to classical conditioning, connected to the sensitization method of gang stalking, anchoring and triggering, and brain entrainment, just research it. It's not hard to understand at all. A person at the 6th grade education, 7th grade education could understand it if you take the time to meticulously research it and then just cross-reference the data that comes up. It'll take you less than 2 hours for you to fully comprehend it. Literally. Okay, because you need to become educated about what these 6 satanic rats are doing. Because once they auditorily entrain your right hemisphere, okay, you can't hear ultrasonic sound. The only reason why I'm hearing it, or suspected that it was going on, is because I was being bombarded with massive noise harassment at a specific wooded area back in 2017, 18, and 19, and 20 through car convoy noise harassment. So I thought to myself, there's no way I can endure this without trying to block it out. So what I did was I got out some tissue and rolled it up in little itty-bitty wads, wetted it down a little bit so I could mold it into my ear canal, not pushing it in just enough to where it would cover the ear, the hole in the ear. And that canceled it out by about 40 to 60%. So then right after that, I noticed a whole big gigantic cacophony of loud vehicles got mixed in with it. And then became a non-stop usage every single day. So then I bought these, and that canceled out about 80% of it. And so then massive amounts of different shit. I mean, right after no shit, I'm not kidding you. Right after I bought and started utilizing my own stuff, okay, to block stuff out, I noticed that more stuff got added onto it. Now, I know that's something I can't prove was done intentionally, because gang stalking doesn't allow you to prove most shit. But that's the truth. I do not lie, my fellow American citizens. It is the absolute truth. Now, So, when I put tissues in my ears and then started using these, I started hearing an electronic transmission sound in my right ear, along mixed in with a steady tone. An electronic transmission sound, okay, while my ear was also hearing a steady tone, okay? So I had remembered that gang stalking victims on the internet, along with doctors and scientists, were also reporting that gang stalking victims are being hit with ultrasonic sound bone conduction. So when I seen on Twitter that some of my fellow victims were using ultrasound detectors, I decided to upload one myself, and boom. I also uploaded an infrasound detector app on a prior phone, and it was picking up infrasound as well. Okay? So you see, when I put the tissue in my ears, it was blocking out the environmental noise, allowing my ear to hear what's being processed in my ear. So how could my ear still hear ultrasonic sound? Well, is my ear hearing ultrasonic sound, or is it possible? Shit, this phone doesn't have the picture of it. Let me tell you something right now. I gotta make a fast statement. And at this time, I can't prove it, but consider this and consider this well. When you research, trust me, when you research ear implants and audio implants in gang stalking, cochlear ear implants, they operate by and through low and high band filtering. So if you got an ear implant in you or an audio implant in you, that audio implant and that ear implant is electrical, and it operates by and through low and high band filtering. So when ultrasound is processed through the high and low band filtering of the programmed ear implant, it's going to probably create a secondary sound. Is that the sound I'm hearing in my ear? Because you got to remember, the ultrasonic sound would be processed through the high and low band filtering of the ear implant, producing then a second sound. And my fellow American citizens, when you research, let me go back to this real fast. Hopefully I can show you a picture of it before I let you go. Go into the YouTube account you're seeing this video through. This right here shows that I got non-consensual remote neuromonitoring islands implants in my eyes. So do you honestly think that there's no likelihood that any other type of implants have been put in me? This is what they look like when you shine a black UV light on them. So research brain implants, islands implants, nasal implants, ear implants, throat implants, brain-to-computer interface, which is remote neuromonitoring. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, my fellow American citizens. This is a perfected tradecraft. Thank you for listening. Everybody have a good day. Research what I've stated.